right, so good morning. So today I'm going to read part 1 of chapter 6, the Swedish cream and welfare tea. Who can tell me yesterday in chapter 5 that we read, what was the first thing that happened in chapter 5? Miles?
The mom wanted Byron to stop playing with matches.
The mom wanted Byron to stop playing with matches. And what did she tell him?
She said that she would burn him.
She said she's going to burn him if he didn't. So then we had the middle. What happened in the middle?
He did it again.
He did it again. He was had the parachutes go down into the water and flushing them and stuff like that. All right. Then what was the climax of the chapter? What was the climax?
When he got burned.
Good morning, Harper McCon.
When he got burned.
How's everyone?
Okay, so we just gave a short summary. And the video recording stopped, so we're going to go back over it real quick. We said at the beginning, it was Byron got in trouble for playing with the matches. In the middle, he started playing with matches again.
The Nazi war.
With the Nazi wars. Then the climax was when his mom actually tried to burn him. Then it ended with the sister Joetta blowing out the matches and the mom didn't get burned. Now, so that was a summary. Those four sentences right there is a summary. The beginning, the middle, the end, and we included the climax. So summary writing is really quite simple. All right. Chapter 6, the Swedish creams and welfare cheese. Mama stuck her head into the living room and said, Byron, I want you and Kenny to go to Mitchell's and get some milk, a loaf of bread, and a can of tomato paste for dinner. She waved a little piece of paper to us that had the grocery list written on it. How come Kenny can't go by himself? Byron, I want a half a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, and a small can of tomato paste. If you asked Mama why you had to do something and she didn't feel like explaining it, she just repeated herself. She was chopping up on onions for spaghetti sauce, and I guess the tears made it so that she didn't feel like talking. If you were stupid enough to ask your question again, there would be the loudest quiet in the world coming from Mama. If you went totally crazy and asked from Mama, and asked a third time, you might as well tie yourself to a tree and say, ready, aim, fire. Byron got the message and jerked up off the couch and walked over to the TV and punched the off button. Notice he had to get up and walk over to the TV. He didn't have a what? A remote. That's a real world connection right there. Byron had to turn off the TV. We have a remote. We don't have to get up. Right? That's the real world. Give me the money. Just sign for it. Just what? Just tell Mr. Mitchell you want to sign for it. Mama kept whacking the onions. What? Just go in there and tell Mr. Mitchell I want to sign for some food. Your daddy and me made all the arrangements last weekend, Byron. Mr. Mitchell will let you sign for groceries until payday. Lots of people do it. A half a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, and a small can of tomato paste. Mama started chopping the onions a little harder. So I ain't got to give him no cash. Whack, whack, whack. All of a sudden, Byron's face jumped like a bell went off in his head. Wait a minute. I know what this means. We on welfare, ain't we? I held my breath. If I found out we were on welfare, I was going to really have to get ready to be teased. No, we're not on welfare. I can't believe it. You really going to start serving welfare food in this house? You really gonna make me embarrass myself by signing a welfare list for some groceries like a blamed peon? I guess I hadn't been counting how many times Mama had repeated herself. She smacked that knife on the kitchen counter and jumped right up in Byron's face. You listen here, Mr. High and Mighty, since you just got to know food is food. You've eaten welfare food in this house before, and if need be, you'll be eating it again. Don't come playing that nonsense with me. I already told you this is not welfare food. You've got about 5 seconds to have that door hit you in the back end. Kenny, you get moving too. Bob pouted and walked real fast up to Mitchell's, so I kind of had to run to keep up with him. He didn't say anything while he got the stuff Mama wanted. He just snatched the things off the shelves. Then he dropped the bomb on me. You go on in line and hold our spot. I'm going to look at some comics for a minute. When you get up to the register, I'll come up and tell them how we're going to pay. Oh, man. I knew what that meant, but I figured out a way not to get embarrassed. He was going to hide until I signed for the groceries. I was going to be the one who got embarrassed. I couldn't argue or anything. So now it was me who was pouting. Byron disappeared around the comic book rack. Hi, Kenny. Hi, Mr. Mitchell. This is all you want? Uh-huh. He took the groceries and rang them up on the cash register. That's $1.23. I saw By's head come peeking around the corner. This has got to go on that welfare list, I said, kind of quiet. Mr. Mitchell twisted his face up. On the what? I said real low so only Mr. Mitchell could hear me. We just found out we got put on welfare, and we've got to sign this food up on that welfare list. Byron's head disappeared again. Mr. Mitchell laughed. Kenny, this isn't a welfare list. It just means your daddy's going to pay it all at once instead of a few days every week. Really? Mr. Mitchell reached under the counter and opened up a little brown box. He pulled out a bunch of yellow cards, and I could see Watson was written at the top of them. He wrote $1.23 on the first line and said, sign here. Then pointed to a spot next to the $1.23. I wrote Kenneth Watson and gave it back to him. That's it. That's it. He put the groceries in a brown paper bag and handed them to me. See you soon, Mr. Mitchell. The second I walked out of the store, Byron was next to me, and he was in a lot better mood. Man, I can't believe it. We had just had a chance to get a bag full of free food, and all we took was some stupid milk, a loaf of bread, and a can of tomato sauce. Byron's good mood started getting to me, too. He was smiling and even put his arm around my shoulder as we walked. I couldn't help myself. I felt so grown up to have By walking with me like that. I started laughing right along with him. His mood was so much better that he even took the bag of groceries from me. Most of the time, when Mama made us go to Mitchell's, Byron would make me carry the bags from the store right up to the front porch. Then he'd take them from me so Mama would think he'd carried them to the whole way. But now he started carrying them 4 blocks away from the house. This is just too much. All you gotta do is sign up that stupid card, and that old fool Mitchell will give you whatever you want. Too much. Now that Bob was happy, I had 2 questions. I wanted to ask him first. He'd said a word that I'd never heard before, and since he said it in front of Mama, I knew it wasn't cussing. As we walked home with him with his arm around my shoulder, I thought I might get a real answer from him. Byron, what's a peon? One more second. Sorry.
You're good.
A peon, didn't you see? The Magnificent 7? Peons were them folks that was so poor that the rich folks would just as soon pee on them as anything else. I knew this had to be a lie. You could get yourself in a lot of trouble if you listened to half the stuff Byron said. But I asked my next question anyway. What do you think the welfare food was that Mama said she gave us? I wish I hadn't asked, because this brought back his bad mood. He took his arm from around my shoulder and said, I know what it was. He handed me back the groceries. Don't you remember how some of the time Dad sneaks up in the morning and goes in the kitchen, and when he comes out, there's a big jug of milk. Ain't you ever wondered where that milk comes from? You ever seen any udders on Dad? That milk came out of one of them big brown boxes they keep up on the high shelves. Pure D welfare food. And don't you remember that cheese? Who ever heard of cheese coming in a box as big as a loaf of bread? You ever try to pick one of them things up? Real cheese comes in a hunk or slices. Not no blamed loaf that weighs 40 pounds. I always thought there was something strange about that mess, and now I know she's been sneaking us welfare food. Pure D welfare food. The cheese tasted okay to me, and except for a big powdery lump every once in a while, Dad's milk was alright too. But to try to get Byron back into his good mood, I acted like I was real disgusted, and I said, "Aw, man!" A week later, I was walking in the alley behind Mitchell's when a big cookie with pink frosting just about hit me in the head. All right, we're going to kind of stop right there.